this week's Full Throttle Movement. This week we are in the MG3 as promised. Luckily we've been loaned the MG3 this week direct from MG for us to have a look at. Now this will be the tail end of this model run. We're due for an update possibly towards the end of this year in the MG3. And it was just to take a quick look at MG's offering in the super mini segment. Now the MG3 came in for a lot of criticism when it was first launched. Naturally, with any of the MG products, it seems that they've not quite been able to shake the stigma of the collapse of the brand the first time round, which is a shame really, because as previously mentioned in the MG6 review that I did a couple of weeks ago, you know, MG has a lot to offer, and with its new owners, etc., they're really trying to connect back with the British love affair with cars. As far as styling goes, the MG3 pretty much nails the head of the super mini styling market. It covers all of the bases, it seems. Short overhangs, sharp styling, and it's, you know, funky enough for any young person looking to either get the first car or, you know, second or third car. And really, it can't be argued for the money. What you get is quite a varied selection on the appearance of the car, which is kind of the selling point for the car. Really, it's got maybe not quite as the level of customization as the 500, the Fiat 500, but for the Fiat 500, you're going to be paying £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 more. Really just for the badge. You can specify different roof colours, different vinyls on the bonnet as well. This particular car's got colour coded black wing mirror covers and a piano black finish inside. And as driving this particular car, we're £10,100 for this sport model. Which comes with a few sharp styling cues. We've got a bit of a front splitter on the go, as well as a rear diffuser. Questionable whether that actually does anything. I think not. But nonetheless, it adds to the atmosphere that MG are trying to promote with this car, which is a young, cool, sporty image, while still maintaining a relatively low insurance group. I think this is 4E, the new rating system. Kind of shuffles a few cars about now. We've taken on comparison for £10,100, that's not far off Dacia money, and you're getting a car which is more than happy to, you know, like I'm doing just now, bundling along some nice B-roads in the Oxfordshire countryside. The car itself had some criticism from the general media really when it was first launched, of the way that it steered, and it was too heavy, it was too light. I don't know if MG have done any updates since then for this car, but to me this feels perfectly fine. I don't know if quite a lot of the motoring journalists that are out there just now maybe just driven too many Corsas and Fiestas and are expecting that kind of non-tactileness. However, for me, I think it's perfectly weighted steering. You know, it loads up nicely when you are driving. It's not as if it's devoid of feedback. You have a good idea of what's going on. It's very sharp. One of my criticisms for the MG6 was it felt underwheeled, and that there wasn't enough control of the sidewall of the tyre. I think it had 16-inch wheels on it, but quite a large sidewall on the tyre. This addresses that massively. We've got a 16-inch wheel, really short section tyre, so not only does the car's proportions look, I would say, pretty much bang on from the outside, but not only that, the feedback through the steering wheel is much better, and I think this is probably, well, it's effectively the second go of a car new MG has had, and I think this is much more the way that the MG should be heading. If they take a spirit of this car, polish it a little bit, and apply it to the rest of the lineup, you know, you would have a decent set of a decent brand identity there. Now for me, there are a few criticisms of the car, but to be honest, I've been driving it for 4 or 5 days now, and it's really hard to fault it. There's only a few things, and it, as you would expect, it comes in the detail, the fits and finish of some items. Everything that the driver touches has a good, pretty much tactile finish in terms of driving inputs of the gear sticks, the brake, clutch, throttle. All have good characteristics. The steering itself is, as I said, nice. The steering wheel itself, I'm not 100% keen on the steering wheel, just due to it's got a slight edge right about where the radio controls are, and that kind of leads me to where one of the problems I find with this car is the radio controls. Now this car wasn't specified with cruise control, so apart from the fact that on the right hand side of the steering wheel you've got some really cheap, nasty plastic cover where the buttons would normally be for the cruise control, but on the other side it's like a 90s Sony Walkman style volume controls, which if there had just been a nice soft touch button, I think that would have been quite nice, but that's a little bit of a letdown. The steering wheel itself is fine, it's slightly more aggressive shape than the 6. As it comes, £10,100, and you've got full DAB digital radio, Bluetooth phone connection, as well as streaming music from your phone. You can do that directly to it. It will remember your phone book, etc. So in terms of specification, I think that's quite good for such a small car. It's got trip computer, range, you know, gives you your range. There's for the eco-minded of you, there's a gear shift indicator, tells you what gear you're in, when to shift up. Like most modern cars now have got an indication of when we have to shift, which, you know, if you want to have an eco way of driving, then that you can do that. I don't really think that's in the spirit of what this car's about, and to be honest, that leads me on to another point I find with this car is, this car, I would say, if you jump straight out of a Volkswagen into this car, or a Fiesta or a Corsa, immediately you would probably notice that the drivetrain isn't quite 100% there yet. Now, what that means for me is the engine itself is a 1.5 four-cylinder engine, naturally aspirated, no turbo or anything like that, and it feels quite archaic in the way it goes about things. There's initial throttle is very nice, but there is a small flat spot not far off normal town speed, maybe that's like 2.5 to 3,000 revs. There's a bit of a flat spot, and that can cause some issues when you're trying to get a bit of a move on down some back roads. And say, for example, you're stuck behind a caravan, you're trying to overtake it, and you're not quite in the rev range. You drop down into the next gear, and although that there is more power higher up, you do really need to wring it out in order to get a move on. That's not to say it's it's a slouch. By no means is it a slouch. Certainly, it would benefit if in the next facelift for this car that the engine was tackled. Gearbox itself was really, really nice. The only criticism I have is the 4th to 5th change is a bit sloppy, but everything else is perfectly fine with that. I was originally, when I first got in the car, I found that I thought the gear stick was quite short, but it just turns out that it wasn't. I get into it and I couldn't like around it. But now, after driving it a few days, like I said, it's perfectly fine. I mean, as you'll see by some of the videos we'll cut in and out here as we go along, it'll quite happily live with an E and B road, and I think that's ideally where it's suited. There are some points where I feel that the suspension's not quite polished enough to be able to deal with some of the bumps, and that comes where you've got a double bump in succession. The car's quite stiffly damped and stiffly sprung, and obviously with it being such a small car, such a light car, that has quite a profound effect. But it does mean that the car then becomes a bit more playful, a bit more adjustable, and that's kind of what you want really in a small kind of hot hatch. It also means that you're not having to go ridiculous speeds to feel involved in the driving of it. Quite too often now, modern cars, to start to feel engaged in what you're doing, you have to be going at a fair rate of knots. That's not really the case anymore, to be honest. So with this particular car, pick yourself a nice road and trail brake on the way in, and you'll probably find yourself giving yourself a dab of opposite lock just to catch it. Like I said, it's very responsive to the steering, so if you are pretty heavy-handed to throw it in, you'll get it to lean and possibly hop and skip out. So yeah, I think overall as a package, it's a great package for 10 grand. You can't really argue, to be honest. Certainly I wouldn't be arguing. If I was in the market for a small hot hatch, would I buy it? You know what, I would probably consider it, because you're looking at, for the 10 kind of price range, you're looking at this, or maybe a 1 or 2 year old Up, or a 1 or 2 year old Fiesta. And if what do you want? Do you want the full manufacturer's warranty? You know, MG offer quite good finance deals as well as manufacturer warranty and extended warranties on the car. So all of these options are available, and it kind of, like I said, the car got a lot of criticism when it was brand new, and I think that's partially needed, but also partially not needed, because the car itself is actually alright for what it is.
As you can probably tell, I enjoyed my time with the 3. In my opinion, it's a good value choice in this segment with good equipment levels and customization options. The MG3 has opened the door for MG as a manufacturer back into the small car market, and I hope that the new facelifted model addresses the little problems that I had whenever it may arrive. Please take a look at the fullthrottlemovement.com and click subscribe below.